All right, top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night, whatever time zone you are on. This is my side note pop-up live, actually. No need to put all that in the title, a moment of silence for all of those who have lost their lives. All right, with that being said, let's remember this. Break this down. If we can look up, we can get up. I need to clear that up in the background. If we can get up, we can go up. If you hear outside interference while I am speaking, it is because I do have some things taking place in my background that would cause me to sound like I'm in a tunnel. Hopefully everybody's been doing the best that they can in the situation that they are in. But again, let's remember this. We look up, we get up, we get up, we go up. Yesterday, during the live stream, I was supposed to be showing you all images of tampered video footage versus untampered with images. And so in the beginning of the video footage, I did not share that out. So I am back today. It didn't get shared out towards the end of the video footage. So I'm back today to share that out. And again, hopefully everybody's been doing the best that they can in the situation that they are in. And hello to all the little children and the little darlings, the little wee darlings. All right, so let me do a share on this and get off into some music, and we're going to go ahead and get started with me sharing videos that I shared yesterday later on, but I want to show them today so people can have a clear perspective, in addition to some other images I added. stop. I'm not a rapper. That's obvious. But I am an advocate for truth, justice, accountability. People always seem to want mercy when they didn't extend mercy to others as they were taking other people's lives. And I'm not talking about in the form of self-defense. I'm talking about the system in the United States of America that said it was about justice and equality for all. All right, that's what I'm talking about. And we still always J for K. Justice for our Tatiana Jefferson. We can run the gamut of names for people who need justice, as police officers need to be held accountable and need to lose their immunity, as well as prosecutors, because prosecutors seem to have the power of life, the lives of others in their hands. The power to lock innocent people up. The authority to lock innocent people up. And then 30 years later, you're finding out that the person was innocent. But that's 30 years of their lives that's been deducted behind bars. And what I consider to be, to a great degree, a modern day plantation. All right. So let's get to this. This should be my Big Bank Take Little Bank live. Because tech companies are getting ready to lose their immunity, and rightly so. However, yesterday, I didn't show video footage of the images I was talking about. So this is to rectify that today. Okay. All right, no nonsense news. So let's remember this. And I can't see anything in it. Here's the thing. I can't see a single thing in this dang gone. Okay. Let's remember this. We stay actively engaged. Whether we are raising awareness campaigns by conducting live streams about an issue, a cause, supporting a particular reason, supporting calls to action, we stay actively engaged. Many of us who came onto Google distribution platform to get a message out about justice, we were already advocating for years prior to coming to this platform. So when people say, oh, they're a YouTuber or they're a blogger. No, I'm not a blogger. I'm a content creator. While I'm on YouTube, one could consider me a content creator. However, more so than being a content creator, this is about raising an awareness campaign for causes and issues. And the main one is human life. The right to human rights in the United States of America. Because every nation is uniquely structured. Human beings are human beings, but every nation has a set of laws that are uniquely structured to govern their specific nation. And unfortunately, over here in the United States of America, African-American people were considered 1/3 human years ago. And that stigma and negative, nasty history that America cannot get away from still seeps out in America when you look at certain instances. Like People always want to question, and I've seen the comments pertaining to Christina. And some people have compassion, while others are saying, it's not the police fault that she locked herself in a van and died and whoop-de-wop. Pump the brakes, pause for a minute. Was it Gabby Petito's fault that she went with her ex-fiance and he was a person of interest for taking her life when she had already been in an abusive situation? See, let's do a little comparison and contrast today, just to put a perspective on things. So people, those same people jumped in with so much compassion for her. Pump the brakes and pause for a minute. Say la. Stop and think about that. Those same people, some of those same people, not all, would turn around and say, whatever, that was her fault. Pump the brakes for a minute, but you just had all this compassion for Gabby Petito, who chose to be in a relationship with someone who was abusive. And a 3D CAT scan was conducted on her body. However, you don't have compassion for an extremely suspicious death. And the death of Christina, may it be forever resolute and resolved in your mind, was an extremely suspicious death. It was a bit eerie for a Black female in 2021 to be found in the back of a police van at the police department, in the parking lot, police station in the parking lot, with surveillance cameras available to capture the perimeter of the police department parking lot. And if you don't think that's extremely suspicious and a little bit eerie, but you think Gabby's situation is just, oh, it's just a tragedy. Christina's situation is a tragedy too. And again, that goes back to the history of the United States of America, viewing people rich in melatonin as 1/3 human. See, that same stigma is here, where you would give deference to one person because of their ethnic group, while you would not give deference to another person because of their ethnic group. But may it be forever resolved and resolute in everyone's mind that justice should be applicable to every ethnic group here in the United States of America. So let's get that out of the way, because it's not always just people who support the channel that bypass and pause for a minute at the channel. It's those who come to spectate. And justice is not a spectatorship. It's about being actively engaged. This is not about spectating. So let that be forever resolute and resolved in those bypassers' mind. It's not about a respect of persons in America, is it? Historically, it's always been about respect of persons, but should it be? Let's get that out the way. Now, graphic content, parental consent, viewers' discretion is advised. This channel is not for minors. Now, having said that, Hey, 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 how you doing, TK? How you been? Good to see you. It's been a minute, TK. Hopefully everything's been good with you. It's nice to know you still in the land of the living because I believe life is always a good thing. And as long as we can breathe and have air in our body, no matter what situations we're in, no matter the situations we face, if we can look up, we can get up, we can get up, we can go up. That's the legacy that I come from in my ethnic group. The ability and the tenacity to overcome on every wind and wave. Now, again, as it pertains to Christina, this is not a facetious comparison against her and Gabby. Not at all, because it was a tragedy what happened to Gabby. It was downright tragic. And it definitely was a tragedy what happened to Christina. And we're trying to figure out how in the world does a person allegedly get into a police van that was supposed to be locked and allegedly lock herself in and don't get out and just stay in this van for days. And the police is unaware, but it happened in a police van in a police parking lot. And the police are trained. Let me put my weight on that. The police department are trained to pay attention to details that the average person would miss. But they come out, the police chief, a police chief, come out and show video footage saying, oh, this is from September the 25th, but timestamps, his words, not mine, are exactly 12 hours off. Oh, a police officer on October the 7th saw some shoes by the van door. Who you playing with? That's extremely suspicious and downright eerie. That reminds me of some plantation type stuff. I'm gonna keep it 100 right now. I got to keep this 100. And then some people, oh, she was African American, so let's fall for it. She was rich and melanated. Yeah, she probably did call stuff up in there because she was doing this and this, because she was having some psychological. On the other hand, Gabby Petito, the FBI go investigate that. Newsflash, it was no surprise to me that her boyfriend was a person of interest as it pertains to her strangulation, her cause of death, asphyxia, being strangled to death. Who was surprised about that? I wasn't. However, and I'm not trying to be facetious again, when it comes to this Christina case, we need to know, I want to know as a US citizen, how did she die? Don't sit up and tell me she crawled into a back of a van, couldn't get out with pop-out windows, and on October the 7th, the police just happened to see some shoes there in a police parking lot with video surveillance cameras everywhere. What? With timestamps 12 hours off. Are you kidding me? And I'm just going to believe exactly what they're saying. Oh, yeah, and I'm not going to ask questions. That would be an insult to my family. Historically, my ancestors. That's an insult. That's an insult to justice. That's an insult to justice. Then they come out with edited video footage. Police chief talking about raw footage. Raw how? Raw footage is not edited. It's untampered with. It's the purest form of data that you could possibly get without being manipulated. No manipulation. With timestamps, again, 12 hours off. Yeah, but people will believe that. People will believe that Christina, the same mess they tried to pull with Kanika Jenkins, that she was so inebriated till she locked herself in a hotel freezer inside a kitchen that had cameras in there. Inside a freezer that don't lock from the inside, by the way. It only locks from the outside. Let's be clear about that. Let's let the record show. Because her current attorney, Jeffrey Feiger, made that very plain in a press conference over 2 years ago. So again, we come to this, another extremely suspicious death that in the United States of America, the FBI should be spending their time on, because it happened at a police department, police station. A red flag. And then the police department go conduct the investigation. And we expect for the police department to self-govern and come out with 100% integrity and tell the truth without embellishments. After knowing the history of America. Yeah. I would like for Christina to get 3D CAT scan, full body CAT scan, as well as have all the pathologists that were available to Gabby Petito to come in for Christina as well. The anthropologists, pathologists, the 3D equipment that they use to conduct Gabby's autopsy. I would like that same equipment used to conduct Christina autopsy, so we can find out what really happened for real. I, for one, want to know. Now, let's get to this video. Yesterday, I showed the video footage from the police department, 9 minutes, 2 seconds long. And looking at that footage with the naked human eye, my theory was some time frames dropped. And so I said, towards the beginning of that video footage, edited video footage that was shown, it looks like towards the beginning, some time frames dropped. Then I said, about half of the way through, or less than half of the way through, because it was 9 minutes, 2 seconds, it looked like some frames may have dropped again. Then right before she appears, or a person appears from behind some trees, or the set of trees, remember it sets the trees there, coming from street perspective, with my eyes, the naked human eyes, it looked like some time frames, some frames dropped again to me, video frames. Then towards the end, it looked like some video frames dropped again to me. Disclaimer, I did not conduct a digital forensic analysis of any video footage. I have not conducted such. I'm just talking about what it looks like to my naked human eyes for me. However, we know my theory alone cannot stand. It has to be backed up with concrete proof and evidence to support the theory or to support and substantiate my claim. Now, I want to ask people this. That's right. I want to ask people this. Justice for Christina. What's being transmitted at all time across networks and the internet data? We know that. All right. Every camera that was in that police premises at the police station, at that precinct, represents a node on a network. Okay. Every packet, for the packets of data that are being sent across the network, there's a header, there's the body of the packet, and there's the footer. Okay. In these data captures. And so I asked the question, when you're viewing that video footage, does the video footage paint a complete story? Can you tell if frames were dropped from the video footage? Does the footage represents the events as they occurred in real time? And I said, no, it doesn't. And how do we know it doesn't? Because he came out there and said timestamps 12 hours off. Well, if the timestamps are 12 hours off, they're not synchronized with the footage that you're showing. Excuse me, there's a reason why now in the court of law, timestamps have to be synchronized with the video footage as it relates to when the events actually took place or occurred in real time. Not you coming out saying, oh, 12 hours off. But instead of this happening at 12 or whatever o'clock, it actually happened at 3 p.m. or whatever time in the afternoon. And I'm sitting there listening like, what? Okay. But that's okay for people. They wouldn't have accepted that for someone like Gabby Petito, but for Christina, that was okay for people. Well, that's never okay for me. That's never okay for me to just come up and say, oh, on October the 7th, police saw some shoes outside the police van. And then that caused them to look inside the van. Who you playing with? So you mean to tell me the police to see shoes to put in? But they trained to pay attention to details. And it's surveillance cameras throughout the parking lot. And again, they're trained to pay attention to details, the details that the average person would miss. They're trained to see. And then the timestamps was 12 hours off. So did that video footage that they showed paint a complete picture? I've not seen any edited video footage that they've shown that painted to me a complete story or picture. None. Nor will I take that video footage as telling a complete story of what happened to Christina. And remember, my little squares here represents packets of data being transmitted across a network. All right. So this is the images I was supposed to share out yesterday. And for those who watched it yesterday, I said, okay, these images, still shots, these are still shots from live video, surveillance video footage. These are images from live video. Can you tell me which ones have been tampered with? This is what I meant to show yesterday that I showed towards the ending or later on in the live, that during the live stream. So I said, can you tell me if one or is it two? Is it one or is it two? And I said, well, we have to use our forensic tools. Again, showing the histogram, and I said, showing it in from different perspectives. And I said, I think yesterday I said showing the pixels. No, this is showing the histogram, the history. Can you tell me which one breaks in a flow of pattern? Where do you see abnormalities at? What looks abnormal to you? Is it one or is it two? So those who were watching yesterday already know it's one. One is the image that has been edited. One is the one that's edited. On the sides, diagonally, you see people edited in to that image. Two is the original that hadn't been tampered with. You look at the histogram of it, you can see where the editing occurs. You see a pattern being broken. Number one is abnormal. It doesn't keep the flow of how the pattern should be. How would we know these things without using tools? So the police came out, presented a bunch of stuff. But again, like I said, I want copies from original hard drives that have been authenticated, whether it comes from the police department or if it comes from the city of Alabama. And I much rather have it from the city of Alabama because they are the ones who own the cameras that are at the police station outside. They're the ones responsible for maintenance and servicing and setting the data policies for those cameras, those nodes on a network. But the police chief came out and said, this is raw data. Raw data is never tampered with. It's never edited. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So I wanted to come back and show the images again. With the grams to match them now. Top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right. And the reason we can tell this is because for these images, the still shots that were captured across the network and captured by surveillance footage, surveillance cameras, a digital analysis was conducted on these to prove which one was intentionally tampered with and which one was not. Again, it looked like some frames dropped off of the video footage that the police showed on that website. How would I be able to prove that? Well, in order to prove, I would need copies, and I'd rather have copies authenticated. Then I can utilize 3 different tools to test the same footage. Now, some people, they're going to use one forensic tool that's powerful and back away from it. However, when I conduct my tests, I like to put the same footage in there or the same image in there 3 times using 3 different tools to see if I get the same outcome. Now, let's go to some images I dropped in today. When we're talking about that video footage from the police department pertaining to Christina, did you see a 360 perspective of the parking lot? Did we get a 360? Did we get a full panoramic view? Did we get a 360 view? We didn't even get a direct 90-degree view, 90-degree angle view from that footage. We didn't even get a 180 perspective on that video footage. So no, we didn't get a We didn't get a 360 perspective on that video footage. So I said, there's a video footage that you saw Christina paint a complete story or have a complete perspective. Did it tell a complete story? And I will say no. Now, here I'm using another example, okay? Now I want to go to the next, because image A is showing a different perspective of the same video capture, the same footage that was captured via video as image B. Image B is the original image, the original still shot, shown from one perspective. And what you see in that is you see that person and you see that person. And however, you didn't see the third person. Now, image A begins to show, you start hitting at a 90-degree angle. So you can see it from different aspects and different perspectives. And then you see the other person and you get a close-up of more items and things in the video footage. Again, when people say, Christina got in that van, did you see that from a 360 perspective? What perspective were you looking at that video footage from? Was it a full panoramic view? Did that video footage tell or explain a complete story or picture of what happened the day the incident allegedly occurred? No, it did not, especially with timestamps being 12 hours off, especially with the police showing edited footage. I'm not getting a clear perspective here. Let me go back to the previous. You see a gentleman right there who is not in the original image. And I want people to note that these images have not been edited. What's happening is, when this got to the forensic lab and the tools were utilized and different aspects and angles of the footage were looked at, a clearer perspective of what happened the day this incident occurred on this example was shown. The perspective that I'm looking for in the video footage that the police show, again, I was looking for the images. I was looking for the still shots from the video footage to actually, he came out and said, oh, it's pixelated. The more you zoom in on it, the more pixelated it becomes. That's what the chief from Alabama said. Excuse me, sir. There are digital forensic tools to help clarify those gray areas, or areas people would consider to be gray areas, so to speak. So again, this is some other examples I'm throwing in here to really cause us to think as a people when it comes to what's being presented and perspectives, especially if we are to stand for justice. We need to be the ones asking these probing questions. Okay, is this painting a complete picture of what happened to her? Okay, can I get a 360 on it? Okay, can I get it from the 90-degree angle, 45-degree angle, a 180 angle, a 360 angle? Can I get a full view of what was taking place the day the incident occurred? Can I get a panoramic view? Can I get a 360 view on that footage that was presented? and not just see it from one angle? Can I see it from all different angles, even from the acute perspectives? In acute perspective, even flip over to look at it from different perspectives with the naked eye. And then you're going to utilize the tools to confirm. Remember, in video footage, when they start tampering and we are looking at it from the perspective of viewing graphs, the graphs begin to look distorted. When we look at it from the perspective of looking at pixels, the pixels, the graph, the chart that comes out for the pixels, they are distorted. Let's go back here. When you're looking at things from a histogram, that perspective would be distorted if it's been tampered with, like in image 1, it's been tampered with. Top image has been tampered with. This isn't the way it was captured. Somebody tampered with that. Versus image 2, which has not been tampered with, and the flow of the patterns are there. They're not broken. They're consistent. They're concise. You look for the abnormalities in the flow of the pattern of the information that's being presented from the graph, from the charts. Again, this is just another example. A, B is the original, is an original. It's the origin of what we're seeing in foot, and then you get to A, and it shows you a different perspective. You see it up close. You see it from a different angle. You get more clarity of what happened the day this event was occurring. This is the type of clarity we need for Christina. Like, can we get a different perspective and angle on the video footage? If you're gonna come out and show it from different angles. Did not George Floyd death teach the world that? The bypassers had video footage from the angles that they had it captured from in their cameras. Stores had from their perspective. Police body cams had it from their perspectives. Police dash cam had it from their perspectives. Cameras next to the store had it from their perspectives. So we could get a 360 from different angles. For Christina, we don't have that 360 yet. We don't even have a 180. We don't even have a 90. Degree perspective of what happened. Therefore, asking the question, with the footage that the police officers have came out and shown, the police chief, does it paint a clear story or perspective of what happened to Christina on that day, or whoever that person is walking around in the parking lot? Don't just show us footage from certain cameras, as the police chief said. Oh, this is from those mostly from those cameras. Well, where's the footage from mostly from the other cameras? Because I want to see that too. And it's a reason why you have to look at all of the footage. People are probably saying, all of you looking at all that is not necessary. Yes, it is. Because it's going to tell me if anything else abnormal have been taking place in that police parking lot. We have to look at the pattern of the police parking lot. What's been going on? Is this the normal modus operandi? Is this the normal method of operation, daily operation for this police department? Or was this something out of the norm? They may say, well, other citizens may be implicated or apply. Listen, blur their faces out and show us what's going on. We need to know what happened. All right. Now, this is my other example. This also was video footage captured in real time. One of the images have been edited and one has not. One has been tampered with. Some of the footage have been tampered with. And one of the images shows the one that has been tampered with versus the one that has not been tampered with. Has A been tampered with or is it B? Is B been tampered with or is it A? When the video footage was being captured, was it A or B that's being tampered with? Which is the original that has data integrity versus the one that's been tampered with that lacks data integrity? Is it A or is it B? And how will we know that? Can we just look at that and say, A is the one that's the original and hadn't been tampered with. B is the one that's the original and hadn't been tampered with. No, we have to use tools. We have to use our forensic tools. When I say it looks like frames were dropping out of that video footage that the police department came out and showed pertaining to Christina, I can say that, but still, tools would have to be utilized to prove what I'm saying. I can say it looked like frames dropped here, looked like frames dropped there. And remember, if it was captured 30 frames per second and one frame dropped, that's 30 still shots that are not available. If it was captured at 60 frames per second and one frame dropped, that's 60 still shots from that video footage that's not available. If the frames were captured at 90 frames per second and one frame dropped, that's 90 still shots that are not available from that video surveillance footage. If it was captured at 120 frames per second and one frame dropped, that's 120 frames per second of video footage that's not available. That's 120 still shots that's missing. Get it and multiply. If it was captured at, if 2 frames dropped, being captured at 30 frames per second, well, that's 30 times 2. That's 60. That would be 60 still shots that are missing. And so on and so forth. If it was 90, that would be 180 that was missing. If it was 60 and 2 frames were missing, that would be 120 still shots, 120 still shots that were missing. Remember, frames per second. That's how data is captured across the network using surveillance footage, different surveillance footage. It depends on the bandwidth. Bandwidth is always given in the equation. You can always acquire more bandwidth. You can always purchase more bandwidth. So you don't have throughput issues. You have enough bandwidth, and oftentimes People think, oh, I'm having bandwidth issues. No, bandwidth is given in the equation. You're having throughput issues for whatever reason. And then you have to, what? Conduct an investigation to find out why you're having throughput issues. That bandwidth that's being utilized is shared amongst other devices that are connected to that same access point. But go answering the question about this right here. Let me answer the question. Hey, Fire Mama. Yeah, a partial narrative. Oh, wait a minute, Fire Mama. I'm liking this. So, Fire Mama, I guess I would have to ask you. Hard call. A, the eyes look funny. Well, the eyes look funny in both the images to me, but Fire Mama, if you're saying A is the one that has been, the video footage that has been tampered with, the image from the video footage that have been tampered with, you're right, Fire Mama. A is, if that's what you're saying, the video footage that have been tampered with. The image that you see of the video footage that have been tampered with is A. B is the original. B is the one with integrity that hadn't been tampered with. B is the original. A is the one that's been tampered with. Intentional. B is the original. Again, utilizing forensic tools, what you would see in A, if you were to look at it from a graph perspective, is where the tampering occurs, you would see the distortion in the graph. If you were to look at it from the perspective of looking at it at the pixels, from a pixelated perspective, just viewing it from pixels, the pixels would be off. They would be distorted. You would see an unnormal pattern, an abnormal pattern in the flow of pixels. You would see the pixels being off. If you were to look at the histogram graph, you would see a pattern being off there. In terms of shaping or coloring, you would see it was off. But Fire Mama, again, if you're saying A is the image that was tampered with from the video surveillance, you're correct. Again, in this field, just because it looks like it's so doesn't mean it's necessarily so. So you always have to conduct the analysis using the tools to prove what you're saying, especially when you hit the United States of America court. Unfortunately, however, you need to make sure that if you are presenting anything as it pertains to ESI, electronically stored information, which will be used as evidence in a court of law, that authentication, data integrity, data integrity, data integrity, authentication, authentication, authentication. And you're right. Fire Mama, you said the video footage that we saw pertaining to Christina tells a partial story. I'm not even going to say it tells a partial story, because if she allegedly entered into the police van on September the 25th, as they allege, so she was there the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, how many days was in September? And then you go from there, and then she's found October the 7th. That's not even telling me part of the story. That's only giving me a fraction. That's giving me less than 1/3 of a story. That's giving me a small fraction, just a little fraction of what may or may not have happened. and timestamps being 12 hours off, you're not proving to me that things happen sequentially as they're shown, that the events happen in the manner in which the video footage was shown. I need the timestamps to match the actual day and time of day that the events occurred. Just because video footage was shown, that doesn't mean that the video footage that was shown, that the event actually happened on that day. Timestamps were 12 hours off. Timestamps should match the events as they occur. Now, is it abnormal for timestamps to be off? No, because oftentimes people don't do their configurations correctly. Or it could be a virus, it could be a worm. But it is the person's responsibility who are accountable for those nodes on the network to make sure everything is synchronized. That the network time protocols are synchronized with the time zone. Usually you can go in there and configure and put it on automatic. However, they're backing up their data and storing it. It is their responsibility to make sure the time is accurate. Remember, in Windows devices, it's a network time allocation table to make sure that if you are on a Windows device or an Apple's device, that the time automatically is synchronized to whatever region you're in. You can put it on automatic, and the time will be automatically synced to whatever region or part of the world that you're in geographically. That was the police responsibility, or the city's responsibility, to make sure, well, the police presented it and they came out and presented it like evidence. So really, they should have did what they needed to do in terms of authenticity, authenticating, synchronization. They should have did what they needed to do. Again, when it comes to Christina, and like I said, I just want to show some examples. Remember, A and B, the same day, same event that's occurring. You're just seeing the video footage from different perspectives. You're getting a different perspective on it versus just A, which gives you an up close perspective, or start seeing it at a 45-degree angle, 90-degree angle, 180 angle. You see it from different perspectives. See, and this is what happens when you start analyzing from a digital forensics perspective, shots, still shots that were captured across the network via surveillance footage, via surveillance cameras. You start analyzing the still shots, all those still shots that were captured. And so I will say again, when it comes to Christina, the footage that was shown does not tell a complete story. It doesn't tell a complete story, doesn't paint a complete story. We don't even know if the footage represented the event as it occurred in real time. because the police chief said timestamps were 12 hours off. Not only that, they came out and showed edited versions. News station got edited versions. The family said they saw something different. News stations got something different. It's just a flashback for me to Kanika Jenkins. When they came out, at first they were going to say it was first they came out and said homicide. And rightly so. Because that was extremely suspicious death. Especially with infrared cameras in the kitchen that pick up things that are in the atmosphere, right? And especially with a freezer that don't lock from the inside, only locks from the outside. Extremely suspicious death, especially from a hotel who said that they weren't utilizing the kitchen, that the kitchen was inoperable. Let me use their words, unoperable. Unoperable doesn't mean it wasn't being utilized, it was being remodeled. People still had access to the kitchen. We saw that in the video footage. Extremely, it just reminds me of a Kanika Jenkins incident, but I think a lot of people missed it when the news reporter came out and said, there is no video footage of her walking into a freezer. And I was wondering, okay, most of us, a lot of people started looking at the documentation, looking at the video footage. My first thing was to conduct metadata extractions on some of the footage, as well as images that were posted from Rosemont Public Safety Department to see what in the world was going on. Remember, they said there's no video footage of her walking into a freezer. And I said, well, how did the police department come to the conclusion that she walked herself into the freezer and locked herself in there, especially when the freezer does not lock from the inside? How did they come to that conclusion? Without proving that she did such things. Where footage should be available, video footage should have been available to substantiate their claim that she did that, it was not. I said, did they show us any biological proof that she did such in terms of, can we get the fingerprints off from inside the freezer as well as the footprint impressions? We're talking forensics here, right? Can we bring in the forensic scientists with integrity to give us or present to us who DNA was actually inside that freezer? Can we even give them the confirm that can we get her DNA from out of the freezer? I mean, what? Can we get her DNA off door handles and things like that, since she was allegedly supposed to have locked herself in there? Can we get the DNA? Because they said no footage exists of her walking into a freezer. You go back and you can look into the old news reports. And then we come to this Christina. And I'm saying, where's all the video footage at? A lot of us who were advocates for justice are like, when footage is available, where's all video footage at? This is what you coming out showing us after you just said timestamps was 12 hours off. And then you just said that on October the 7th, the police just happened across the parking lot to see some shoes, but you ain't tell us whose shoes those were. You didn't tell us what DNA came off them shoes. You just said that's why the police officer stopped and looked in the van, because he saw some shoes outside a van window. Well, who DNA was on the shoes? Do the footprint impression of the shoes fit her footprint? The indentation of her footprints? I want to know all of that. I also want her to have a 3D CAT scan conducted on her body, like Gabby Petito had conducted on her body. I would also like for them to bring in the different forensic pathologists to examine the body as well, because they look for different things. They specialize in what they specialize in. So bring all of them in too. And let them comb over her body and present to US citizens, as well as others who are interested, all of the facts and evidence or findings. Again, going back to Alabama Police Department, I didn't even see a report on who fingerprints was on the van that she allegedly was supposed to get in. Can you tell me if her fingerprints are on any of the knobs from outside the van? And did you test all of the door handles outside the van? And if so, which door handles or knobs from outside the van match her fingerprint? Can you tell me whose DNA was inside the van? Can you tell me, did they conduct an analysis on her to see if anything foul, like maybe someone forcing themselves upon her happened? I'll wait. What they did was came out and said she was found in our parking lot in one of our police vans. Yes, we're going to be accountable because the van was left unlocked, and the van should have been locked. The van hadn't been used since March. The van should have been locked. According to them, it hadn't been utilized since March. And we're going to hold ourselves accountable for that part. But we knew Christina very well. She had interactions with, people from the police department. So we knew her very well, trying to allude to some psychological issues. And I said, who knew her very well, and how well did they know her? Don't come out and tell me that either, because that takes me down a different path. Again, you're not going to tell me any African-American person is just wandering in a police parking lot for no reason. No, most African-American people are not trying to encounter the police department. And I'm not talking about what my theory is. Excuse me, after George Floyd murder occurred, the statistics and all said 911 calls dropped off greater than 50% in the United States of America. They decreased greater than 50%. After people viewed that George Floyd incident in the USA, 50% of Americans stopped utilizing 911. And in the African-American community, let me be clear about this. Public Enemy did a song a long time ago in the 80s, said, when Flavor Flav said, I called 911 a long time ago and they still ain't got here yet. African-American people aren't just wandering around in police parking lots. That's not the first place we would think to go, unless it's a reason to be there. It has to have a motive behind us being in a police parking lot. There has to be an intent for us to just be in a police parking lot. And I don't care what type of record we have, whether we have no record and we are squeaky clean in terms of history, or whether we got a record as African-American people. We ain't trying to just roll up into no police parking lot. And I will say that for other ethnic groups too. US citizens are just not rolling up into police parking lots, roaming around in police department parking lots at a police station. That ain't the way US citizens, especially African-American people, get down. We ain't just wandering around in no police parking lot for no reason. Excuse me, and excuse those who think that too. I'm trying to be in no police station without working there, without a reason for being there. No, we don't. No, we don't. Nope. No, ma'am. No, sir. We don't do that. US citizens usually don't do that either. I don't care what ethnic group they're from. They ain't just rolling around on a police parking lot without a purpose, without a reason, without intent, without a motive for being there. We don't do that. Many of us already know our police over here has a history of violence against US citizens. So we don't just, we're not just showing up like, hey, this is a great place to be today. I guess I'll just stop by the police parking lot and wander around. Yep, wonderful place to be. And I guess I'll just open up the van door of a police vehicle and get inside. No. No, ma'am. No, sir. Absolutely not. Hey, Cha-Cha. Oh, hey, Miss T. London. How you doing? Oh, yeah. How you doing, T. London? Yeah, we're not usually just roaming around in parking lots like that. Usually, US citizens be trying to get away from the police. We ain't trying to run towards them, like I said, unless there's a reason, a purpose, and intent behind what we do. But again, I just think it's important for us to ask all the questions we need to ask when cases, extremely suspicious cases like this arise, even if it's not an extremely suspicious case, but this right here is extremely suspicious. And unfortunately, what we don't have is Rosemont was kind of forced to a degree to put up videos and images that they put up because the protests kept occurring. I mean, you could call a J for K protest and say we're gonna have it in the next few weeks and it's gonna be packed to this day. And that happened to Kanika years ago. You can call a protest and say, we going to Rosemont, Illinois, we getting ready to protest again on this day. And guess what? I'll be right back down up in there and other people will come from other states too. And it will still be packed to this day because that was an extremely suspicious death. And the US citizens started applying pressure in that area. Now, the same thing needs to happen for Christina. We need to have access to this footage. We need to have access to that surveillance footage. We need them to post it on a website with other images via the family's permission, like they did for Kanika, so we can go through it. We do. We need that. We need that. And like I said, Rosemont had no intentions on doing what they did, but they kept getting pressure. Also, Alabama, your police department is not required by law to show body cam footage. That's crazy. That needs to be federally mandated in the United States of America, that every department in the USA be required to show body cam footage that comes from officers. In the state of Alabama, they get to decide. So we can't, in Alabama right now, it's like no access to body cam footage from the officers to really find out if the officer had body cam on the day that he discovered her body, like he said he did. Because your Supreme Court, Alabama, said it's up to the police departments to decide whether or not they want to reveal that information to the public. Where in states like Illinois, they've passed bills to where that won't be an option. It's not going to be optional whether or not you run that body cam footage to the general public. It's going to be a law that says you must do it. They already passed it within a certain amount of time. See, here, when it comes to video footage, the longer you wait, the more suspicious things become for me. Because I'll start thinking that you're hiding something intentionally. When you don't come right out, and let's be honest about it, it takes hours when you're retrieving this data. So let me be clear about that. I don't want anybody to go away just thinking, oh, they can just do it and it could have, no, it takes hours. When I was conducting metadata extractions or you using any forensic tool, it's going to take hours. It's going to take hours to process. It takes time. But at the same time, many of us have time. And on our off time, we're willing to take the time to comb over what the police present in great detail. Again, I, for one, am willing to use 3 different forensic tools, which is usually what I like to do, even though they all say the same thing, just to make sure my stuff is solid and admissible. Should I have to show up in court for something. And I want to conclude by saying this. If anything is altered with, tampered with, modified, or edited, it will leave a digital fingerprint. There is no way around it. You cannot tamper with electronics. You can, people do. But what I'm saying is you can't tamper with electronics and don't think they won't leave digital fingerprints. Computers, cell phones, databases, hard drives. Those electronics are going to leave a digital fingerprint. The internet, the interconnection of networks, digital fingerprints. Oh, Miss T, you finally catching me live? Miss T, I used to have a systematic time that I went live. It used to be every Sunday at 9 o'clock. Now it's been years since I've done that. I'm just so random now to where I'll just pop up in a live. Usually I used to have a set schedule to conduct lives, and I don't have a set schedule any longer to conduct lives. I used to always be systematic about it, give my time, give my thought, and you could expect me faithfully to show up. But now I just pop up. And I know people probably like, people like a schedule, but be like, hey, here I am. So yeah, Fire Mama, the laws needs to be changed at a federal level to mandate that nationally police footage is available at state and local levels. Yeah, it is sad, but we the people got to fight. All right. So having said that, remember, this Christina footage is not telling a complete story or painting a complete picture. I want to go and let you listen to the police officer, police chief again. You're going to hear his words. And the more I listen to him, should be right here. Let me stop this. The more I listen to this, the more upset I become. But let me find him. Let me find this so I'm not just clicking through this. What did I push him to? That's fine. Here he is. All right, let me do the share on this. I don't want to do like I did the other day. I'm sitting up here talking and I forgot to share out. So here he is again. I'm gonna let you listen to his words, not mine. He gonna tell you that the timestamps are 12 hours off.
Reviewed the most, the ones that showed where the van was in the parking lot.
Let me go back.
Miss,
Let's start this from the beginning. Turn this up. There we go.
talk about the tragedy that we've been working on and working through here, with our investigations team
listen to this.
and with the family to try to figure out exactly what happened. And so, because there's so much information I want to share with you, normally I don't like to read to you, but I'm going to read all of this because we want to give you a lot of information that's detailed. So the Huntsville Police Department has worked with the family throughout our investigation, and this morning showed them the security video of the events leading up to the discovery of Miss Nance. The Huntsville Police Department's thoughts are with the family during this tragedy. Investigators met with the family Friday morning and showed them the security video of the events leading up to this. The Huntsville Police Department announced Friday, October 15th, information about how Christina Nance entered a parked, unoccupied police van in the rear corner of the parking lot at the Public Safety Complex here at 815 Wheeler Avenue. Miss Nance's body was discovered by an officer who was walking through the parking lot on October 7th. The officer noticed shoes next to the van and approached, discovering Miss Nance's body inside. Windows on the van were observed to be opened, and on this type of van, they popped outward. It wasn't that they were rolled down, they popped out. HPD has spent countless hours reviewing security video to determine the events leading up to Miss Nance being in the parking lot and in that van. Security video from the City of Huntsville cameras attached to the public safety building were the ones that were reviewed the most, the ones that showed where the van was in the parking lot. Miss Nance is observed in the video walking around the parking lot. She lays down in the bushes at some point, and again, we're going to show you the video here in a few minutes, and you'll see the things that I'm describing to you. She sits on the hood of a police car for some time. She approaches other cars in the parking lot, you'll see, and this all happens for about 10 minutes before she enters the van. This all occurs on September 25th at around 12:30 p.m.
You said PM?
Correct. In the middle of the day, around lunchtime. Ms. Nance was originally reported missing on October 2nd to us, and at the time, she was believed to have been seen last on September 27th. All right. After security video showed movement in the van earlier on that same date, it was determined that that timeline was incorrect. So that is part of the problem with why this took so long. So we originally were looking through surveillance video that really we had to look at minute for minute to watch to see somebody enter the parking lot and get into that van. So we literally had to watch 2 weeks of surveillance. We worked our way back to the 27th, and then as we reviewed the video at that point, we saw that there was movement in the van. So we realized she was already there, so we had to then start working backward again. All right, so as you can imagine, this, watching video minute for minute, now we're spending a lot of time trying to find what was going on. So, after security video showed that movement again, as I said before, we were able to determine that she did enter the van at that point. So what I'd like to do now is go ahead and show you the surveillance video. We'll take a look at it, and I'm going to I may walk away to kind of point out some things, and I'll try to get back to the camera or to the microphone to discuss different parts of it. So this is the video. Let's make sure that you understand. So this is the video as it looks to us as we review the video. Let me point out real quick. I'm going to point out real quick where the van is. That is the van that we'll be looking at. And so, as you can see right now, we already pushed play. We're already rolling on the video. And I want to hit stop real quick on this. I want to point out something we want to make sure that everybody knows is that the time stamp on this is exactly 12 hours off. So as you can see, it looks like it says 8.
Pause. I'm gonna pull that back so people can hear it again, like I did before. As you're viewing the video footage, Police Chief Dwayne just told you the timestamps was 12 hours off as you were viewing the video footage. And I will say it again, in this field of digital forensics in the United States of America and other nations, timestamps have to be synchronized with the footage in order to be admissible in the court of law. So my ears perk up when I heard them say timestamps are 12 hours off. So you showing video footage that's not synchronized in terms of showing the actual time that the events occurred, but you're presenting this as evidence, or you're presenting this to the general public. Okay, let me pull it back again. Let me pull it back again. Yeah. And you can't go into you can try to bring this into a U.S. court, and it would be challenged. And oftentimes judges will tell you right off the bat. So they don't always, some judges are just going to tell you right off the bat they're not going to allow it in the court, whereas other judges will just let the opposing counsel sit up, and if they don't challenge it, they'll just sit up there and look at them like, okay, let me play that back.
And so, as you can see right now, we already pushed play. We're already rolling on the video. And I want to hit stop real quick on this. I want to point out something we want to make sure that everybody knows is that the time stamp on this is exactly 12 hours off.
Exactly 12
so as
hours
you can see,
off.
It looks like it says AM. This is actually in the middle of the day. It's PM.
Okay.
So it's the time stamp is off by 12 hours. So this is just after lunch on Saturday, the 25th. All right, so we'll roll it again.
I don't know what day that is.
Attention to
Time
just how
stamps 12
difficult it
hours
is to
off.
see anything in these videos. We'll show you in a few minutes how we can zoom in to some degree, but as you zoom in, you lose. It becomes more pixelated and more difficult to see. If you will watch here in just a few minutes, you'll start to see her come into view as she's walking toward us in the distance on Wheeler Avenue. And I'm going to walk over and point out where you will see her first come up on the video. We want this to play for just a minute so that you can understand, and the public can understand. You can see her there walking, the figure walking along the street. Again, investigators had to sit and watch this video minute for minute for hours to finally find this.
Just for clarity, can you go ahead and point her out one more time?
Sure, she's actually gone behind a car. So what I'll do, so we wanted to show you this raw version of the video. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and stop it here, and we're going to show you an where we zoom in, right? Okay, so we'll switch now. And again, watch from the same area. You'll see her walk toward the camera. There we go. She actually, it appears that she sits behind that patrol car for some time. She, as you can see, she went behind the patrol car and is not reemerged. And again, make sure you note that October 7th is the day that we found her. And so we had to work back all the way from October 7th to now we're on September 25th to be able to find this bit of video that shows her.
I want all the video
in the
footage.
parking
Let's
lot
work
and
back
getting
from the
the-
body cams and the police dash.
PD surveillance camera.
It's on our building. It's maintained and serviced by the City of Huntsville General Services. So we obviously have access. But
City
those-
camera.
City camera.
Okay.
It is a city camera, correct.
Okay.
This camera is actually a somewhat recent addition within the last couple of years. This camera has been put on the building just to add more video footage for better security. And you can see her out again now, walking.
That's another reason they're gonna get sued. A camera's on there to add better security, but somebody ended up allegedly dead in the police van in the parking lot where it was supposed to be better security, and cameras were added. Nodes on networks, by the way. Remember, a camera represents a node on a network. And this is the police that are trained to pay attention to details that the average person would not catch.
Chief, is this camera set anywhere? Does anybody have a monitor where they can look at this?
No, I don't believe we have any kind of, we have so many cameras that we monitor. No one's sitting and watching this specific camera that I'm aware
That
of.
he's aware of. They have so many
These
cameras
are
that
just
they
so that
monitor,
if you
but
have
no
an event
one's.
and you need to go back and look, you have the ability to do that. You can see she just leaned against the patrol car. We will be providing you with a copy of this.
I wouldn't want no copy of that. You better give me an authenticated copy, bit by bit. hash values that match original hard drives in a volatile state.
As you can see there, how difficult she is to see at that point.
Okay. Mm-mm. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. See, it's a lot of stuff. Like I said, the more I listen to this, and excuse me, you all for stopping this, I will drop it in the comment section below when I edit this video. I will, so you can watch this in its entirety again. I used to work for ADT Security. Next to my working station was the monitoring room, the control room. Okay, ADT Security brought out Midnight Security. Midnight Security, security company that was extremely old. And yes, I am dating myself. Midnight Security, I didn't work for them. I said I worked for ADT Security that bought out Midnight Security. ADT Security, well, my workstation was right next to control room, monitoring room, and it looked like something out of a movie. In the monitoring section, completely glass. The air is complete, top to bottom, glassed in, top to bottom, footage, monitors all around, from top to bottom, side, side. And because the ADT Security was monitoring people's homes, residencies, and other things like that, everything was monitored at all times. Now, it wasn't you were going to be the service provider and the workers were not watching all of the monitors and screens at all times, because they would have, that was instant termination. You instantly would have gotten terminated off that job. So it's interesting that he says, according as far as he know, nobody was watching that particular camera that they're showing the footage from. Well, can you verify? Because we don't need him guessing right now. And I find that statement extremely suspicious as well. But this is police department. Everything they're saying to me, the more I listen to it, is extremely suspicious. Again, red flag for anybody should be timestamps being 12 hours off. Red flag for anybody should be the fact that they're showing edited video footage. Red flag for everybody should be the fact that October 7th, police discovered some shoes by a van. Red flag is when police said, okay, this footage is from September the 25th. And that's when we say she got in the van, even though her sister said she last spoke to her own sibling on the 27th. So was she getting in and out of the van? But you said she couldn't let herself out the van because the door is only open from the outside. And I said, excuse me, a kid would know how to get out of a van with the doors that only open from the outside, pop-out windows. Surely a 29-year-old adult, since they said they saw movement, the windows popped out, know how to pop out a window and reach their hand down and let themselves out. But again, who DNA is on the shoes? All of this is extremely suspicious to me. And I just need more information, because this right here, this story, the more I listen to it, the more I hear nonsense and foolishness. And the more I am sitting like, really? Okay. Where's the rest of the story? And where's the rest of the video footage? And where is the evidence? Where are the images at? And I didn't get to see a chain of custody. We got some problems. I didn't get to see any of the exhibits that were marked and submitted into evidence. And then the man who did conduct the autopsy came back real quick. Oh, nothing to see here, no foul play, excuse me. You didn't do a 3D CAT scan on her body. You weren't using the best equipment. We want that same equipment Gabby Petito had. Everything that they did for her, the FBI did for Gabby's autopsies, because they have the best of the best equipment. We want that for Christina, because she was found, after all, in a police van, in a police parking lot, at a police station, dead, allegedly, according to them. Yes, they do, Fire Mom, and that's what we waiting on. Everybody else sitting up here like, oh, this is it. We saw her do this. No, you didn't. You're not even seeing this from a 90-degree angle. We ain't even seeing this from a 45-degree angle. At least give a 360 panoramic. This is foolishness. This is foolishness. Okay, I gotta stop this. This is foolishness. All right, so justice for Christina. Won't stop, can't stop till we get it. Alabama, when you all are ready to go to work, not trying to be facetious, but it's people sitting on radio stations that's from Alabama. I'm surprised they haven't 100% put their weight behind finding out what's really going on. There's other people out there, and it's interesting enough, again, that people would take this as not being, a death to really look at and put pressure behind, versus Gabby's, because again, her boyfriend was always a person of interest to me, her fiance, whatever he called himself. He was number one suspect in my book, period. He was number one on my list. And you work from there. For Christina, we don't know who the suspects are other than the police department. And we already know, if you've been watching for years, what I'm getting ready to say. Everybody at the police department, including police officers, especially police officers, if they were there the day she died, they are all suspects to me. Everybody, from top of the police department head to the little janitor and all other employees. That's the way I view cases like this. If you were on the premises at any time during these days, you are suspects. And it includes police officers, police chiefs, and the like. So, having said that, we have work to do, and I've been waiting for some things to happen, but remember, we stay actively engaged, so we're gonna turn up like we do for justice and do our calls to action, because this right here don't work for me. And every day that goes by is just a day that we are missing out on information that we need. So, again, everybody, we have to stay vigilant. We have to make sure we have no respect of persons when it comes to these cases. We can't come out and see all these resources invested in one case, and then it comes to the next person and they don't get that same diligence. And I don't care what ethnic group they're from, in terms of investigations being conducted thoroughly and everybody's being given the same type of diligence, because we are all citizens in the United States of America. But don't come out and show us one investigation being conducted so detailed and meticulously, and then give us this. That don't work for me. If you're gonna be fair, be fair. Y'all getting ready?
Get ready!
All right. I don't like cutting music like that. I usually like to fade it out, but we have to get ready to do this work. Remember, everybody, thanks for streaming. I will drop the video footage that the police department showed. Even though you've probably already seen it, you know how we gonna do. We gonna keep combing over things, but at the same time, we are going to demand more, because it wasn't until we started demanding more from the Kanika Jenkins case that the police department didn't. They just went on ahead and said, you know, the family had already given permission to say it posted. Mama T said post it so people can see. And I'm sure the family want the video footage out there so people can see that this is. So Alabama, y'all need to put your feet on the ground. I know they had one protest, but feet on the ground, because people will come. When it's about justice and it's extremely suspicious death cases like this, the people will come. We will come, people will come and consistently show up. But it's time for us to do our calls to action. Because the more I hear the police chief talk, the more I start putting that stuff in the foolishness category. Now, with that being said, thank you all for streaming. Remember to stay vigilant. Remember this: if we can look up, we can get up, we can get up, we can go up. COVID is still out there, the Grim Reaper, claiming lives, as well as the disease phase of COVID, SARS-2. So make sure you are doing what you need to do to make sure you are protecting yourselves as well as your family. Stay vigilant, and stay engaged. Thanks for streaming. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a pleasant evening and a pleasant night. Again, I will drop the video below once I edit, as well as the link to the other video that's 9 minutes and 2 seconds directly from